Hello, I'm Martin Webster and I'm a Master Trainer of NLP Hypnotherapy, and I'm also the creator of HMS Therapy. I'm the founder of the NLP program, and we have helped now for over 10 years lots of veterans suffering with post-traumatic stress disorder to completely change their life, some of which have gone on to no longer have PTSD anymore, and I'm one of those. So for me, NLP is life-saving. It's a tool, a way to use to apply skills and strategies and new belief systems that will allow you to achieve your goals and also help your clients achieve their goals. So let's begin the course then. So when we think about the aim of an NLP practitioner, the aim of an NLP practitioner is to facilitate emotional change in a safe environment, to help the client achieve their goals, to learn, develop and grow from every life experience that you've ever been through, to model change, and you're only as good as your last client. You're only as good as your last client. So what is NLP then? It's a set of skills and techniques that are designed to help you become a better version of yourself. It's a set of skills and techniques that will allow you to become the best version of yourself. So how was it created? It was created by Richard Bandler and John Grinder, who were two specialists in their fields in the world of psychology and also computer programming, and they looked at about modelling excellence. They looked at who was the pioneers in their field. They looked at Dr. Milton Erickson, they looked at Virginia Satir, and they looked at people like Fritz Perls into Gestalt therapy and stuff like that. With Virginia Satir, she was a family psychologist and was amazing with some of the language techniques that she was using to get results with her clients. And Milton Erickson, Dr. Milton Erickson, who suffered from severe polio as a kid but found with his voice that he could help people transform in their life. And if you watch a lot of the old videos, you see that he has a very gravelly voice. It's quite hard to understand, but the results he got were absolutely outstanding. So they're the three people that the founders, if you like, of NLP. And it was Richard Bandler and John Grinder who sort of packaged it all up. I came in very much later on in like 2010 when I started, and I was part of the movement that was involved with developing spectrum therapy, and then I broke away from that and I developed my own therapy called HMS Therapy, which included the heart. So if you do go on from my NLP course and you start to progress further, then you'll go into HMS Therapy, which is an intervention designed to help reprogram traumatic memories and also stuff from the past that may be causing emotional hurdles or blocks in your life. So let's begin the course then. That's just a little bit about me. Why learn NLP? If you want to become the best therapist out there and you want to get the best results from clients, NLP is a fantastic tool. If you're a counsellor, if you're a doctor, that will just take you to another level. The communication skills that you will have working with people will take you to a whole new another level. So let's begin then. What is NLP? So we've touched on it a little bit, but it was Tony Robbins that coined the phrase NLP was about modelling excellence and modelling somebody that perhaps is getting results. Not modelling someone who you perceive as a failure, but somebody who's getting results in that field. And it could be, say, if it was the field of sports, running perhaps, you're going to model someone like Usain Bolt, who's getting the breaking in them. You're not going to model somebody who's not won any races. So it's all about modelling excellence. For this course with NLP, we look at the definitions of NLP then. Neuro-Linguistic programming. What does that stand for then? So we have a little mnemonic called VACOG, which the V stands for is your visual sight, the A stands for auditory learning, the K stands for kinesthetic, touch, the O stands for olfactory, smell, and the G stands for gustatory, taste. That might come up in a test, so you might want to remember that one. So the definitions of NLP then is what we call VACOG, and that's how we sort of remember it. Also, if you can remember some of the founders of NLP, such as Fritz Perls, Virginia Satir, and Dr. Milton Erickson, and also the people that sort of modelled their work, which was Bandler and Grinder, who sort of came up with the name and the concept of Neuro-Linguistic programming. So thanks for watching the first module. Please continue into the second module, and there'll be tests as we go along. It's been a pleasure to have you on board for the first session, and yeah, look forward to working with you on the next session. Good luck and God bless. Hello, I'm Martin Webster. I'm a Master Trainer of NLP Hypnotherapy, and I'm the creator of HMS Therapy. I'm also the director of NLP Program. This is the course that you're on, the NLP course, and we're going to be talking about now why learn the frames of NLP, the frames of NLP. So basically the reason why we learn the frames are because they're a set of core principles that allow us to become the best NLP practitioner we can be. They're a set of core fundamental principles that allow us to become the best NLP practitioner we can be. So let's look at it then. What's the first one? The first one is cause and effect. Cause and effect. So it was Isaac Newton that said, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So for instance, we've all done it before. We've all sent an email, and then afterwards we've read that email back, and actually we probably could have worded it better or something like that. So we're also probably sometimes looking for a reaction from the other person, and we're trying to get a point across. We're almost, when you start to learn about NLP, we're projecting onto that person. So cause and effect. And also what we do with NLP is we put people back at cause. So if someone says to us, oh, I can't do that, we would say, that's right, you can't do that, or what stops you from doing that? So what we do is we put them back at the cause, because sometimes people say things for an effect. So the next one is reasons versus excuses. So with NLP, with reasons versus excuses, people say, I can't do that because of my condition, because I'm, and you could say to them, well, can you remember a time when you did do that? Can you remember a time when you did do that? So you're basically putting them again back at the cause. So results versus excuses. We don't allow anyone as NLP practitioners to slip into some old programs. We're constantly searching, using our question techniques to get them to find a solution for themselves. So the next one is responsibility for your results. Right, all clients that you work with, including yourself, right, are responsible for the results that you get. So if you imagine a path in the road, which path do you take? Do you take left or do you take right? The choice is completely up to you, and you are responsible for those results. And the great thing about NLP is all about empowering that person so they can get the results for themselves. Questions, not suggestions. And by questioning people, if they come back to you and say, well, you told me to do that, if you've used NLP correctly, you say, hang on a minute, I questioned you and you came up with the resource yourself. So questions, not suggestions. Perception is projection. Surround yourself with the people that you want to be. If you surround yourself with people of low intelligence, low emotional intelligence, you will soon start to vibrate on the same level as those people. So who you surround yourself with will be who you become. So surround yourself with intelligent people, emotionally intelligent people, stimulating people, artistic people, and pretty soon you'll be vibrating on the same level. Surround yourself with negative people, and pretty soon you'll be vibrating on a negative level. The next one is perception is projection, Carl Jung. Also, Carl Jung is a key figure in NLP and some of the sort of aspects of the psychology aspects. Rather than going back to Sigmund Freud, we as NLP practice like to look at and model people like Gustav Carl Jung, who was a pioneer of free thinking and also reflecting on the inner self. And it was him that coined the phrase, perception is projection. Perception is projection. And what he exactly said was, you marry your unconscious and you project it onto others. The negative you see in others is something that is unresolved in yourself. Alright, so let me say that again. You marry your unconscious and you project it onto others. The negative you see in others is a reflection of something that is unresolved in yourself, Dr. Carl Jung. And it's by getting a grasp of that as an NLP practitioner, you will soon become very, very influential in the world, because once you can recognise that it's your fault inside and the people outside, if you're projecting onto that person, and you can resolve that yourself by using perhaps timeline therapy or HMS therapy or spectrum therapy, an intervention that will allow you to release that, or using an NLP technique or using hypnosis, then you can really start to paradigm shift and sort of become the best NLP practitioner you possibly can be. So the mind-body connection, and another frame of NLP. When you're working with clients, right, especially if you start to mirror what they become, if you've got someone who's depressed and they're all slumped forward and you mirror their physiology, you will actually start to feel the same as that person. So understanding that your physiology can actually dictate and determine your results. So the mind-body connection is very important. So looking at, like, you are what you think as well. You are what you think. If you're thinking negatively about yourself, that's going to actually have a physical effect on your presence. If you ever watch a boxer that goes into the ring that's not confident with winning, if you look back at the Frank Bruno and Mike Tyson fight many years ago, you'll see that Frank Bruno, he looks scared, he behaves scared, and Tyson is very confident. He's come into the ring. If you look at both of their physiologies, this is a classic example of the mind-body connection. You can also see it with many sports people. Once they start to get their head down and they sort of sink into their unconscious, the game is over, they've lost. So about looking at your physiology is how you're going to get better results with people. And if you're working in the world of business, mirroring the person in front of you's behaviour will also allow you to get better results as an NLP practitioner. So you are what you think. Also, one we throw in there with our therapeutic NLP within the AT NLP world is we look at secondary gain massively when you work, especially with doctors will recognise this with basically clients who've Googled their problem and then they've come in and they're self-diagnosing themselves, which a lot of GPs have to put up with, and also nurses have to put up with this. So one of the questions we always ask people, why do you want to get well and what prevents you from getting well? Because we've all done it as a kid, we've all wanted a day off from school, and perhaps we might have done something to make ourselves ill, you know, either fiddling with the thermometer on the temperature, putting in some tea and whatnot. We've all had a day off, and we all wanted that love that came from our parents. If we had the day off, getting the Lucozade and the grapes bought for you, which definitely happened to me. So secondary gain is a negative behaviour reinforced with a positive intention. So for instance, if it was a day off school, you wanted to feel loved and looked after and cared for, when actually you were missing a day at school, and it's a negative behaviour but reinforced with a positive intention. Smoking is also another. People like to smoke and they like to feel relaxed when they smoke, but actually chemically it's stimulating their heart, so they're not actually relaxing. It's the deep breaths that's actually relaxing them. So it's a negative behaviour reinforced with a positive intention. So all behaviour in life has a positive intention. And neurological levels of permanent change. So what way we look at this is your values drive your beliefs drive your behaviours, and your behaviours determine your results. So let's go over that again. Your values drive your beliefs drive your behaviours will determine your results. Yep, so if you've got negative values, negative beliefs and negative behaviours will do negative results. Same if it was positive. Okay, so that's a real good one to learn as an NLP practitioner about people's values and look at how the results they're getting in their life. By reprogramming your values, by becoming a better person in life, a better model, you will definitely change your results in that area. A fundamental principle of NLP. Another one that we talk about in the therapeutic world and the therapeutic NLP world is I threw this one in myself, which is uncertainty. I like to look at uncertainty as a learning state. Certainty is a learned state. Certainty is a learned state. And confusion is an integration state. So remember that again. Uncertainty is a learning state. Certainty is a learned state. And confusion is an integration state. So if you're feeling confused after doing this course, if you're feeling a level of confusion, it's because you're learning a new subject and you're taking it all in. It's making you question the model of your world, because we're breaking down those belief systems, and that's another thing that NLP does really well: break down belief systems. And that's coming to the end of Frames of NLP. Thanks for joining us. Please continue into the next module. Please leave some comments and feedback. This is a new Leaf program. I'm Martin Webster, the Master Trainer, and yeah, good luck and God bless. Hello, I'm Martin Webster and I'm a Master Trainer of NLP. I'm also a trainer of hypnosis, therapeutic hypnosis, and also the creator of HMS Therapy. I'm the director of the New Leaf program, and welcome on this course, this NLP course. We're going to be now talking about the presuppositions of NLP. So what are the presuppositions of NLP? For me, they are underlying principles that allow us to become the best NLP practitioner we possibly can be. And I wrote this a few years ago and I still stick by it. Presuppositions of NLP are the core fundamental principles that guide and influence and support NLP practitioners. These guiding philosophies allow practitioners to stay objective to basically get better results. These are not absolute universal truths, they are just models. All of this is just models, but they allow us to become objective in any circumstance if we are facing challenging situations. They are called the presuppositions because they presuppose something to be true in the model of your world or the other person's world. These assumptions will help you achieve better results with yourself and others when you work as a therapist using NLP. Questions, not suggestions. Okay, so as NLP practitioners, it's all about sitting on the fence, really. I mean, I know there's that old saying about sitting on the fence and stuff, but by being neutral, by stepping back and observing, you will get far better results as a therapist and also in your life in general. So the presuppositions of NLP are excellent to keep yourself as an observer rather than being dragged into the drama or a drama triangle. So respect other people's model of the world. Respect other people's model of the world. Everyone that you work with will have their own unique perspective on the world. So by respecting their model of the world, you can stay again as the observer and be able to help that person. Everyone is a unique model of the world. Everyone is a unique model of the world. And when you look at people's personal life, if you go back to the Morris Massey's theory, stages of development, where between 0 to 7 is the programming, the imprint period, you don't know what somebody's been through in their childhood for them to be the way they are. So by not judging them and staying as the observer, you will not interfere with that person's development, but you can help them by questioning them and questioning about their model of the world. The map is not the territory. The map is not the territory. So what somebody, if you take the iceberg and you've got all this the stuff that's below the ocean that you can't see, the iceberg's bigger than what it actually is. So you see the tip of the iceberg. So we're looking at the subsurface, the subconscious level stuff as NLP practitioners. The stuff that's actually on the iceberg, the bit that probably hit the Titanic and all that lot, is just the tip. Underneath is the huge, massive whole weight of stuff could be down there. So the map is not the territory. The meaning of all behaviour is dependent on the context it takes place. The meaning of all behaviour is dependent on the context it takes place. So if someone screams and shouts at you in the morning when you drive past them, and you've got your window wound up and you can't hear what they're saying, but you're looking at what they're saying, you might be projecting how you're feeling because you've just got up. But just because somebody's behaving in a certain way doesn't mean that it's actually they're projecting their situation out there. So the meaning of all behaviour is dependent on the context it takes place. So on my training manual, we have a slide where a guy is shouting and screaming, and on that manual you've got to decide what that person's saying. Now, depending on your instant reaction, you could say he's shouting and screaming. On the other hand, he could be singing a song. It depends on how you look at things. So your perception can really influence actually what you're experiencing. All behaviour has a positive intention. All behaviour has a positive intention. So if we look at Cartman's drama triangle, where you've got the persecutor, the rescuer and the victim, as you as counsellors will know this, the persecutor has a positive intention, the rescuer has a positive intention, and the victim has a positive intention, all designed to sort of keep them in those sort of like characters that they're playing. So we're using NLP, we can stay as the observer and recognise when we're getting pulled into a drama triangle. Everyone has all the resources they need to succeed and to achieve their desired outcomes. Everyone has all the resources they need to succeed and achieve their desired outcomes. The slide I have in my training manual was basically in a country, a third world country, and they've got a huge truck going across a river with loads of boats underneath it, and they're using it as some sort of transport to get this huge vehicle across, which is what obviously in third world countries people adapt, and they come up with real creative ways to get over hurdles that we take for granted in our, if you like, our modern society. So everyone you work with will have some sort of way. I mean, you think about coming online now and doing these courses, you couldn't have done this 10 years ago. So the resources are out there for people. It's whether you've got, as an NLP practitioner, the gumption to go out there and find those resources. The most important information about a person is how that person is behaving. Calibrate according to behaviours. So my image I've got in front of me there is Mahatma Gandhi, and one of his quotes was, "You must be the change that you see in the world." So someone who his own behaviours influenced millions of people, generations of people. So if I'm working with a client saying, "Oh, I've given up taking heroin," and their head is doing this, I'm watching their behaviours. I'm also looking 6 months down the line, are they still taking heroin? They're still telling me what I want to hear, but actually they're not actually doing those behaviours. So I'm looking at what the head's telling me. If they said, and they're congruent and saying, "Yes, I have given up heroin," then I know that they have given up that, because their behaviours are telling me, and also they're coming off and they're clean, and 6 months down the line they're still doing the same thing. So the behaviours can tell a lot about a person, not what they're saying, what they're doing. Everyone's in charge of their own mind, therefore their behaviours, their actions and their results. And this is a real good one to get your head around, is because sometimes you work with clients and they do slip back and they go back to old behaviour, but they're in charge of their actions and the results. Right? Do not take that on. If someone else is failing in life, then that's their failures, and let them have their journey. Everyone is doing the best they can with the resources available to them. Everyone is doing the best they can with the resources available to them. How many times you met people in life that are struggling, but they've tried in some sort of way? And also when you're working with quite negative people, they're dealing with situations, getting angry, or they're doing the best they can with the resources available, or how they've been taught in life. So not to judge people, and to become the observer as the NLP practitioner. There are no unresourceful people, only unresourceful states. I've done this before, been in a terrible mood, rung up the operator, referenced my tax, and then got like the most unhelpful person on the other end. And then I've calmed myself down, gone back on to ring up HMRC in a better mood, and the softer tones, and matching the other person's tone, and getting completely different results. So try it out yourself. Use voice tone matching, be relaxed, be non-aggressive, and notice you'll get far better results with people, especially with your clients. And you can really change your life. Resistance in a client is a sign of lack of rapport. Resistance in a client is a sign of lack of rapport. There are no resistant clients, only poor communicators. So going back to voice tone matching and physiology matching, if you're working with a client and you're not getting results, right, and you're not getting results if you're working in a business environment, try going back to the basics of NLP, which is voice tone matching, slowing everything down, and also physiology. If you're right in somebody's face and you're being aggressive, you're going to get real bad reports, right? So go back to your communication skills and get rapport, re-establish rapport. The meaning of communication is the response you get. So if you go in aggressive, you ring up and you're being aggressive, there's a good chance that perception is projection, you'll get the aggressive person on the other side of the phone, or if you're going into a shopping store or something to take something back. Right, so the meaning of communication is the response you get. Thinking positive will change your outcome. I do this stuff all the time, and I've completely changed how I know, especially if I'm using the phone, how I speak, and notice that you'll get better results as an NLP practitioner. The person with the most flexible behaviour has the greatest influence on others. A chameleon could be a great example of this, the way the chameleon can change its colours and its environment to obviously protect itself, and also perhaps to feed itself by catching other prey. It was Charles Darwin that said, "It's not the strongest of species that survives, nor the most intelligent. It's the one that's the most adaptable to change. The one that's most adaptable to change." Okay, so the person with flexibility is going to be the best NLP operator. And there is no failure, only feedback. There is no failure, only feedback. You've never failed in your life. But if you have failed, which we all have, the only way you get success in life is to have multiple failures. It's how you process failure. It's how you deal with the failure afterwards that will determine your results. If you quit and you give up and you never do it again, you'll never grow as a human being. Pain during feedback is an opportunity to grow. Pain during feedback is an opportunity to grow. And that concludes the presuppositions of NLP. Please go back over them. There will be some tests on that on this course. So yeah, thanks for watching. New Leaf program, and yeah, please join the next module, and we'll endeavour to get you through this course. Thank you. Hello, I'm Milton Webster. I'm a master trainer of NLP, hypnosis, and the creator of HMS Therapy. Welcome to the New Leaf program. The NLP communication model. Why do we need to learn the NLP communication model? The NLP communication model is basically the science behind how we take in and process information. So according to the model is 134 bits per second we can process consciously. So this is my conscious mind here. Imagine I've got like a wall up, right, which is basically my filters. And it's delete, distort and generalize, delete, distort and generalize, right? So anything coming in that's not worth me knowing right now, I would filter that out according to what's important to my unconscious, my subconscious mind. In my subconscious, that's going to represent in my internal state. So right now I'm making this video, so I basically consciously can only process the camera in front of me and the stuff I'm trying to remember from my NLP training. Unconsciously, right? There could be someone out in the field there now. I've got a field of alpacas in front of me. 2 alpacas could be breakdancing. I wouldn't be consciously aware of it because I've shut that out. All right. So I've also shut out sounds and all sorts. All I can hear really in the background is the sound of my computer fan going around. Right? Unconsciously, I can't. Consciously, I can't process it, but unconsciously, I can. Right? And that's how we filter out information. So if someone's going through a traumatic event, right, they'll tend to go into tunnel vision, and that's when the conscious mind locks down and then takes everything. The 134 bits is work. But unconsciously, there's a lot more going on than what actually that person is consciously focused on. So the NLP communication model, once you process the unconscious, you're looking at 2 million bits of 2 million bits of information per second, 2 million BPS, right? So unconsciously, my breathing, all that stuff that's going on at the unconscious level will affect my internal state, my physiology, my behaviour, and therefore determine my results. Also, we look at chunk size of the NLP communication model. So for instance, if I was to say my old phone number, it'd be 0739 4928. So what I've done is I broke it down into 2 chunks. That's how I would say a phone number. If someone had said that phone number back to me, right, in graticules of 2, what will happen is I would find it hard to process because of my chunk size. So some people have a chunk size of 1 where they can take a lot of information really quickly. Some people have a chunk size of 3, blocks of 3. But if you've had someone read your phone number back in chunks of 2 and you find it hard to process, this is because of your filter settings. Does that make sense? So that's the NLP communication model. There's a fantastic video that we use for training that will be we'll be creating for this course, but that'll be on later on in the course, so you have to look forward to that, which is a perception test video. That's basically the NLP communication model. There'll be some quizzes then on some of the information that I've covered there. Hello, I'm Milton Webster. I'm a master trainer of NLP, hypnotherapy, and also the creator of HMS Therapy. For this lesson, we're going to be slightly more relaxed. So welcome to the New Leaf program. We're going to be now talking about peripheral vision, how to get somebody into peripheral vision. We use a technique that's been used in NLP for years called the NLP tennis ball technique. It's a real classic technique, and it's a form of hypnotherapy. So for this, I want you to sit back in your chair, allow yourself to relax. Would it be okay to switch off any mobile devices, put your pens and paper down and just chill in your chair? That's all I want you to do. And what I want you to do now is become aware of the space in your room. Become aware of the space in your room and the chair that you're sat on. Make sure you're comfortable and your feet are flat on the floor, and just allow your hands to go on your thighs. And when your hands are on your thighs, I just want you to become, like say, aware of the space behind you. And then I want you to see if you can imagine a tennis ball in front of you. See if you can imagine a tennis ball in front of you. Put a number on it, a number of your choice. And then what I want you to do is notice what colour that tennis ball is. And just see if you can allow your eyes to close. If you feel uncomfortable doing it, keep your eyes open. The choice is yours. But remember, you're only allowed to have a positive experience. Remember, you're only allowed to have a positive experience. So as your eyes close now, just allow yourself now to focus on that tennis ball. See if it's still there. And then take that tennis ball and just allow it to go round the back of your head and become aware again of the space that's behind you, the wall behind you, the space that's in front of you, and just notice if that tennis ball's still there. If it is, I want you to get it to spin. Start spinning that tennis ball. And then what I want you to do is I want you to bring the tennis ball back around so it's in front of your face again. And bringing all that lovely relaxation with you, just come back now into the here and now and just gently open your eyes and notice what you notice. And as you come back into the room now, just notice how you feel. Did you notice there was a sensation of relaxation when you were going into the NLP technique? And what we did there was we took you into peripheral vision. It's hard to explain it, so the only way of doing it is to put you into a sort of what we call a trance state, so you're just relaxing. Hypnosis, hypnotherapy, whatever you want to call it, what we like to call it is therapeutic hypnosis, is designed to relax somebody, nothing else. And it's all cooperation. All I'm doing there is using words to put you into a relaxed state, but you wouldn't go into a relaxed state unless you allowed yourself to go into that relaxed state. So you can never make anybody do anything they don't want to do. All this stuff that you see on TV with people dancing like chickens and hypnotherapy and stuff like that, all that is mass cooperation. Those people are extroverts and they're quite happy to do that behaviour, right? So everybody can experience hypnotherapy if they allow themselves to become hypnotised. And again, you can use hypnosis on yourself. There's loads of free apps out there where you can practice hypnosis. But what I want you to do is go away and practice that technique. Now, there is no test for this with hypnotherapy because basically it's something you need to master as one of your skills. And NLP is a form of hypnotherapy. NLP is a form of hypnotherapy. So how people are teaching NLP out there without teaching hypnotherapy is completely, in my opinion, wrong. The only way that you learn NLP is to learn the fundamentals, and hypnotherapy is part of the fundamentals. It's one of the basic key, and you can only do it in a relaxed state. So peripheral vision then. Peripheral vision is attained only when we can go into a relaxed state, and it means that we are switching off our conscious filters and just allowing ourselves to relax. Allowing ourselves to relax. This is New Leaf Programme.
If Julie comes up, then we'll obviously just get her a seat and just carry on. This is the NLP communication model. This is the science behind Neuro-Linguistic programming, and it goes back to Bandler and Grindler, all the stuff we started at the beginning of the course. And it was created as a model to just show how we process information within our minds. And the way the NLP communication model works is, according to it, that you process consciously. So imagine that's the front. I don't know. Like the conscious part of the lobe of the brain can process 134 bits per second. BPS. Right. So this is the science behind everything we've been doing this week, if we were to put any science behind it. So 134 BPS per second. The unconscious mind, apparently to the Bandler and Grindler model, can process 2 million bits of information per second. Yeah. According to Deepak Chopra, it's 4 billion bits of information. So everybody's got their own sort of models, and they are just models at the end of the day. But that's the science behind how we process information. So, for instance, if someone was to, we mentioned in the beginning, like the chunk size. Yeah. If someone was to say to you, break your mobile phone number down into chunks of 2, you'd find it hard, if you are a free chunk sizer, to understand what that person's saying. So you've got chunk sizes, all that lot, so how you process information. If you're visual, if you're kinesthetic, you tend to go towards visual kinesthetic things, and if you're AD, if you're audio digital and you like things that are more analytical and you like reading things, Flat pack furniture is a classic. People that do flat pack, I just do it without the instructions and then realise I've got loads of screws left over. Someone who's AD will probably go through all the instructions and recipes, for instance. I don't follow recipes, I make it how I want to make it. Yeah. So somebody will go, oh, how did you do that without the recipe? People who read music and those that don't, and just play music through feeling. Can you see how we break into two different categories? So you can imagine that, and if you're right and left hemisphere brain thinking, also that's going to, so everybody's different. So 2 million bits of information per second. The reticular activating system is also inside your brain, which is at the top of your spine as the spine goes into the brain. And what this does, it emits a frequency. So it's the fight or flight response. So for instance, if you have been on an NLP course like you've just been on, and you come away and you suddenly meet loads of other people that are interested in going on an NLP course or have been on one or in that world, it's because you're attracting it, because you're thinking about it. All week you've been doing NLP, so you'll be emitting a frequency that allows you to attract also positive and negative situations. And it goes back to the fight or flight from when we were humans looking, say for instance, food and water. If that's what we were looking for is water, then you're going to be looking for streams. You're going to be, so your reticular activating system is tuned. It's what you focus on. If you bought a car and suddenly go, oh, no one's got this car around here, and then all of a sudden you see it everywhere, that's because your reticular activating system is tuned into it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because every time you buy a car, you see loads exactly the same.
Someone who you're working with who's got PTSD, if all they're talking about is PTSD, their friends will have PTSD, everything, they'll watch films on it, that's all, they become obsessed with it, and actually that becomes, it builds up an identity. So what we focus on is what we attract into our life. So it's really important what we focus on is what's going to serve us, not what doesn't serve us. So what we start to see through this will create our states. So if someone sees a traumatic incident, that's going to affect this person's demeanour, it's going to affect how they react, it's going to also how they process information. So that's the NLP communication model. Now what we're doing, which is very different from what's been done before in the past, is we're including the heart. Because according to HeartMath University in California, the heart is 10,000 times more powerful than the brain. So the frequency that actually comes out of the heart, which they say is like a torus shape, and the torus shape is, that's a torus there, that's what I've designed on my logo for HMS Therapy. It's your electric field that comes off you. They say that the Earth has an electric field, electromagnetic field, like poles, north and south. Everything has an electronic field. If you look at magnets, when you get magnets together, they have electric fields, don't they? And they repel each other. Positive ones, negative ones come together, and sometimes positive and positive will repel each other, isn't it? Is that correct with magnets? Yeah. So can you see that we're all, frequency is massive, and we've been learning a lot this week from Donna on how it affects the frequency put out. Come in.
Oh.
Who's that? Is that Gail?
No, sorry, Mum, it's just me.
Is that Gail?
Yeah.
You right, Gail? So I've just left the door open because there's someone coming up later, that's all.
There's some people arriving on there.
Yeah, someone, yeah. Somebody will be out there. Scale the yoga instructor downstairs. So the frequency that we emit out, if it's positive or negative, is what obviously we're attracting in. So people are talking about The Secret and all that lot, and about subjecting your brain, repetition to positive things. But what if in your heart you're not feeling it? It ain't going to work, is it? And we've had massive experiences this week where people have come in here and they have been incongruent. Their head is saying one thing, but their heart is saying something else. So it doesn't matter what your head's saying, if that heart is not working together as an integrated unit, it ain't going to happen. So what we've been doing all week is getting the head and the heart working together as a unit. And this is where HMS Therapy works as an intervention, an unconscious intervention to go into the heart and reprogram anything that's stopping you from attracting what you want to attract. So 10,000 times more powerful than your brain. So what you're feeling in your heart is what you should be attracting in your life. So if you're working in a job and your heart is not in that job and you don't like really doing it, you're going to be totally in conflict. But your head's doing it because you need the money or you've got to pay the rent. Yeah,
I've done loads of times.
because you're quite congruent with you are congruent with everything.
Can't be unhappy in a job. It's
No,
where
no.
you spend most of your life, isn't it?
No, exactly. But for some people, that can be really frightening and terrifying. No. NLP eye scan patterns. Right, we're just using Phil as a demonstration here to work out whether he is normally organised or reversed organised. So the reason why we need to learn eye scan patterns as a therapist is by using the eye scan pattern questions, we can work out which is their emotional side or which is their analytical side. And as therapists, we want to be targeting more their emotional side, especially when we're getting rapport and getting a good relationship build up with the client before we move into doing the therapy. What is eye scan patterns is basically the science behind neuro-linguistic programming, where our right and our left hemisphere brains is where we access information. So our eyes actually go to a certain quadrant of our mind to access stuff from the past or to imagine stuff in the future. So we're going to ask a question like, can you remember your first house? And the first thing that Phil did was he went over to his left quadrant, to his left hemisphere of his brain to recall information. That tells us that he is normally organised. So that question there, by asking from the past, his eyes have gone into the remembered part of his brain, and he's accessed the house. He accessed the house that he perhaps grew up in, or one of the houses he's lived in. The next question we're going to ask is what could you imagine the house that you'd like in the future for your family to live in? So straight away he went to his emotional side, and now he's up in his imagination, which is on his right hemisphere of his brain. So he's coming over to this side. So he went into his emotional side, and now he brought his eyes up into his imagination to create the house that he wants to create for his family. The next question we're going to ask, so we can show with the auditory stuff, is can you remember a favourite song when you were a child that you loved? A song that you remember, a favourite song. So his eyes are coming over to his ears now, and he's remembering it. What was it? Just out of curiosity.
That's Michael Jackson Bad.
Yeah, Michael Jackson Bad. Yeah. Anyway, so Michael Jackson Bad. Can you imagine now Michael Jackson singing in Darth Vader voice, wearing a pink fairy dress? So he's coming over now to his creation side, his auditory creation side, to create that song, and he's probably getting. I'd say with Phil, he's a synesthesia, so he can do visual and auditory stuff at the same time. So he can come over here to create it in his imagination, what it would be like for Michael Jackson wearing a fairy dress, singing in Darth Vader voice. But he has to remember it from this side to access the information from the past. The next one then is to find out his emotional side, which we've already found out, but we'll just do another little test. Is how did you feel when your child was born? How did you feel? Straight away, he's going now into his emotional side. His eyes have gone down to his emotional side, and he's accessing that lovely feeling of. How do you feel when you're doing your bookkeeping? tax forms. Yeah, as we can see, he's quite kinesthetic and visual. But where would you write if you were to say set your forms out? Which side could you do it from your left side, or would you prefer? Yeah. So this is his analytical side, and that's where he prefers to do his bookkeeping and anything that is to do with technical information, strategies, layout, writing his lesson plans for his course. Brilliant.
Right, Mark. Can you tell me what was your first pet?
First pet was Toddles the cat, or Ginger cat.
Oh. So you looked to your right hand side, okay, to remember something. Remembering something is an analytical process that normally takes place on the left hemisphere of the brain. You looked to your right, so that's telling me that you're reverse organised. Did you know? You didn't know that? Oh my god! So now I'm going to ask Martin to imagine what his first pet would look like in a dress.
Yeah.
So he looked to the opposite side that time. So he was creating an image. So what was the first thing that someone said to you this morning?
Make sure you take something to eat.
So
yeah,
that was an auditory process, trying to remember what someone said to you.
Mm-hmm.
You would have heard that. So Martin looked to his right hand side, and if you notice this time around he looked in the middle. So bang on. Can you imagine, can you just create like a little bit of music, like a little song, a little beat, something? You're quite musical, aren't you? Some drums in there, like a little groove.
To the sound of "Don't forget something to eat." Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So that time you looked over to the left hand side. So he looked over to his creative side, which is on the other side for him, and kind of went a little bit auditory, but also a little bit visual.
I'm a synesthesia as
So
well.
you're synesthesia as well. So that means that you when you sense things, you sense things in a mixture of ways. If you were in a rock band and you made that tune and you were like on stage and everyone was like, "Wah!" and it was a festival, like Boardmasters was on and you were headlining, and it was just epic, and it was just a really cool. The sun was out and you were singing and your band was like, what would that feel like?
Yeah, feel really amazing, really good.
So Martin looked to his emotional side, which is his left, because he's reverse organised, and he looked down, which is the emotional part. When you're like typing up scripts on your laptop,
Yeah.
can you tell me like what that's like? You're down there.
It's boring, but once I get into it, I enjoy it.
So you're down there.
Yeah,
So
I've had to train myself to be.
so you're on your AD side,
Yeah.
which is on the analytical side of the brain. Right down the bottom is where all your ADing goes on. And
Yeah.
for you, because you're reverse organised, it's on your right hand side. But if you're normally organised, that'll be on your left.
Hello, I'm Martin Webster and I'm a master trainer of NLP, Hypnotherapy, and also the creator of HMS Therapy. Welcome to the New Leaf programme. What we're going to talk about now is the reticular activating system. The reticular activating system is fundamental in NLP because basically it's where our focus goes, and it's where our focus goes that energy flows. And as human beings, it's really important, especially with Maslow theory, and you talk about going, if you were trapped on a desert island, what's the first thing you would look for? It would be 1, food, number 2, shelter, number 3, water. That's wrong. It should be water, food, then shelter. Get the priorities right, yeah, because you can only live approximately 48 hours without water because we are 70% water. All right, so once you've got those 3 basic elements, right, the next thing in the Maslow pyramid is they talk about company, and then the following at the top is self-actualization, or what I like to call it love, right? If you had a plant and I put it in the window, you didn't give it food, didn't give it water, you didn't give it shelter from the elements, right? And you didn't give it the attention it needed, it would die, all right? And that goes for everything that's on this planet. Some form of nurturing goes on that allows that Maslow theory to take place. So food, water, shelter, company, then love, or self-actualization, whatever you want to call it. The reticular activating system is designed to keep us alive. Going back to when we lived in caves and stuff like that, it'd be the thing that allowed us to go out and hunt for food and also fight or flight. So where our focus goes is really fundamental. So when you go back to the NLP communication model, what we program our conscious to look for, yeah, will then determine what our focus is. So we've all gone out and looked for a car that we wanted to buy, and then we've gone online and we've done it, and then all of a sudden you see that car everywhere. You suddenly recognise that car. I recently bought a Peugeot, and everywhere I go now I'm seeing Peugeot 207, so I'm seeing that car everywhere. So it's really interesting how the reticular activating system plays, because basically what it does is you think about your unconscious filters, the 2 million bits of information is looking for the Peugeot 207 driving along, and one goes by and all of a sudden it catches my eye. So the reticular activating system is constantly seeking it out. and after a while it'll calm down because it's not in my focus anymore. So this could be the same with when I was in the military in negative situations. I was programmed as an infantry soldier to look for negative situations. So when I came out of the military, I was suddenly getting into more negative situations all the time, which could be classed as PTSD. So where your focus has been trained, you're suddenly attracting all these negative situations and you don't want them because your reticular activating system is trained to look for them. So what HMS therapy does, which is heart-mind synchronicity therapy, is goes in and reprograms at the unconscious level your reticular activating system so you no longer focus on the things that you don't want anymore. If I said to you now, don't think of a green tree, don't think of a green tree, what's in your head? So you can see how this works. Your brain does not process negatives. So we can use that in NLP to help, especially with the not patterns as we go further on into the lessons. Is I can use something like, so who are you that is not, and I use 3 nots to block the conscious mind, to go into the unconscious mind, and to give the mirror image, the reverse image of what it is you're trying to achieve, which will be, say if it's, who are you that is not angry? They're going to come up with happiness, or I am me, or something that is not of the negative program. Okay, so reticular activating system, understanding the reticular activating system. If you're meeting someone, a client, and they're constantly attracting negative situations, it's because their RAS is programmed for disasters, right? And what we're doing as NLP practitioners is we're going to reprogram that RAS so they suddenly start to get results in their life, and then they can achieve their goals. And that's how it works. That's the reticular activating system. Please go on to the next module. There's so much more I've got to teach you. I'm loving this course, and yeah, good luck and God bless. Hello, I'm Martin Webster. I'm a master trainer of NLP, hypnotherapy, and also the creator of HMS Therapy. Welcome to the new program. We're now going to be talking about why learn about the unconscious mind, or the subconscious mind, whichever you can use either term. To become an outstanding therapist using NLP or hypnotherapy, you need to have an understanding of the unconscious mind or subconscious mind. So subconscious mind then, when you're referring to the subconscious mind, we'd like you to remember some of these facts about the subconscious mind, and some of these will be on a test at the end of this course. So the subconscious mind, the prime directives of the subconscious mind is, 1 is to store all your memories, 2 is the domain of all your emotions, 3 is to organise all your memories, 4 is to repress your memories with unresolved negative emotions. It'd be really interesting to learn that one. It represses your memories with unresolved negative emotions. When you think about something like a traumatic memory, and it's done that to protect you. It presents repressed memories for resolution, especially when it feels safe. 6, it may keep repressed emotions repressed to protect you. 7, it runs your body. 8, it preserves your body. 9 is a highly moral being. Yep. And 10, it enjoys serving and needs clear orders to follow. 11, controls and maintains your perceptions. 12, it generates and stores and distributes and transmits energy throughout your body. So when you're feeling really low, it's because your subconscious is probably feeling it's probably not in a good place, so you need to either relax or recover or go into some sort of sleep or meditation. 13, it maintains instincts and generates habits. 14, it needs repetition until a habit has been installed. Think about when you learn to drive, the amount of times you have to go over that program. You think, how am I going to remember all this? And then suddenly unconsciously you learn it. 15 is programmed to continually seek more and more and more, which is why you're on this course and why you're wanting to understand more about the subconscious mind. 16, it maintains all your instincts and generates habits. 17, requires repetition for a new habit to be installed. Wants to seek continue more and more. 18, works best as a whole integrated unit. 19, uses and responds to symbols. 20, takes everything personally. And 21, follows the path of least effort. Always follows the path of least effort and least resistance. That's the prime directives of the unconscious mind. Go away, have a look at them and Google them and have an understanding. Will be a quiz about this afterwards. But thanks for watching the NLP program. Please continue on with the rest of the modules, and yeah, good luck and God bless. Hello, I'm Martin Webster. I'm a Master Trainer of NLP and Hypnotherapy. I'm also the creator of HMS Therapy. We're now going to be talking about hypnotherapy. Why learn hypnotherapy? Hypnotherapy, for me, and for all the people I've trained over the years, is just about relaxation. Relaxation refers to a state that the body, when the body and mind is free from any tension in the body, stress or anxiety is completely gone. And it can be gained in a variety of ways. For example, you could have a long soak in the bath or listen to music or go out for a walk. But for some people, specific types of relaxation therapy can be preferred. Relaxation techniques are very popular among reducing worrying behaviours perhaps people have. They also help people to gain control of their sense of mindfulness. These are a set of exercises designed to help slow down your breathing, your heart rate, and also your posture. The relaxation exercises lessen blood pressure and muscle tension, and also have there's scientific evidence to back this up. Hypnotherapy goes right back to the age of the Egyptians, where it was used to put people in trance states, and there's actual hieroglyphics of showing the Egyptians using it. So history has a long romantic journey with hypnotherapy, but today it tends to have been used as more of a sideshow, and it was actually used for medicine many years ago before the introduction of pharmaceutical drugs. Hypnotherapy fundamentals then. The fundamentals of hypnotherapy are rapport, 2, tonality, 3, voice tone matching, and the repetition of a positive influence, such as using to make the client feel safe, such as we use if we're working with a client and you want them to feel safe, we would use the phrase like, remember you're only allowed to have a positive experience. Remember you're only allowed to have a positive experience. By repeating that, you're letting the unconscious know. So by repeating a word, sometimes the unconscious will definitely recognise it on the second time you load that word in. We tend to use questions, not suggestions, using HMS therapy, which is a form of hypnotherapy. So as you become a more proficient NLP practitioner, your hypnotherapy will get better, and you'll be able to use your language and the questions to stimulate the unconscious mind for them to come up with the resource. So hypnotherapy then, according to an American health magazine, basically hypnotherapy, 93% of therapists, 93 using hypnotherapy just after 6 sessions. Behaviour therapy, 72%, 22 sessions, and psychoanalysis, 38% recovery after 600 sessions. So hypnotherapy was then compared during this study with the American Health magazine, and they could see that 93% of the recovery after just 6 sessions. So hypnotherapy has an amazing influence on people if they want to change. Milton Erickson then, Dr. Milton Erickson, a prolific hypnotherapist, and one of the great things he was once quoted as saying was, patients are only patients because they are out of rapport with their unconscious mind. And one of the key fundamental elements of hypnotherapy is getting your clients in touch with their unconscious mind and then moving on from the problem. Dr. Milton Erickson was also one of the founders of the non-authoritarian indirect suggestion. So we would use a non-authoritarian approach of indirect suggestion. Direct suggestion is just telling people straight what you want them to do. An indirect suggestion would be something, would it be okay for you to allow yourself to relax? It's very vague, it's very vague language, and it's designed to also create safety, and that client is in control of their change, not the other way. A direct response of authoritarian hypnotherapy would be more direct, telling people, right, relax now, which is more authoritarian. All you need is a voice and rapport to get rapport when you're working with a client. And Milton Erickson was also the master of utilisation. So if I was working with a client and the cat started meowing outside, I would just say, as you hear that cat meowing, notice how you go deeper and deeper and deeper into an unconscious trance. So we utilise it, utilise your environment. And hypnotherapy is an amazing tool to help your clients let go of some real traumatic past and to heal from the past, to allow them to move forward and achieve their goals. You're watching the NLP program, keep watching the videos, keep doing the courses, and please have a look through the test. There'll be some questions around Milton Erickson and also some of the hypnotherapy that I've just covered in this course. Good luck, God bless. Hello, I'm Martin Webster. I'm a master trainer of NLP, hypnotherapy, and I'm the creator of HMS Therapy. Why learn Milton patterns? Milton patterns are basically massively influencing within the parameters of NLP. You need to learn or understand Milton patterns, or have at least an inkling of Milton patterns. Obviously, coming from Milton Erickson, they're an extension from that, and these patterns were designed to help practitioners get the best results with clients. So it's a very passive, non-authoritarian approach, but it can be steered unconsciously. So it's hard sometimes to understand consciously when you're working. So the Milton patterns will cover more in depth when we go into master practice. So you've got lack of referential index, comparative deletions, pacing, current experiences, double binds, conversational postulates, extended quotes, selection or restriction violation, ambiguity, and utilization. I know they're big words, but when we move on to master prac, we teach that, and what we do is we show you where the Milton patterns sort of flow within conversation. So you've got mind reads, lost performances, cause and effect, complex equivalence, presuppositions, universal quantifiers, modal operators, normalizations, unspecific verbs, and tag questions. So when we teach Milton model, what we do is when we do master prac, we break it down. Like I said, we'll show you where they are within HMS therapy, the Milton patterns, and we'll show you how we use them. And unconsciously, you have a go at writing them, which you can't do consciously. You can only write them unconsciously. So consciously, if you're trying to follow this way, it seems a little bit hard to follow, but avoid worrying, because as you become more proficient as a master practitioner of NLP, you will just flow with them. You use them already anyway, you're just not aware of it, you're not consciously aware of it. So Milton patterns make up a lot of the language you use in NLP. I'll give you an example now. So as you allow yourself to relax, just notice what you notice. And by saying something like that, you're allowing the client to slip into a relaxed state and notice how they're feeling, rather than telling them. And it's a non-authoritarian approach, and the more you learn it, the more you get used to it, the better your NLP will become. This is Milton patterns. There's no test on it, it's just something that we'll just learn as we go along. Go and look up Milton Erickson and continue on with this training. Good luck and God bless. Hi, I'm Martin Webster. I'm a master trainer of NLP, hypnotherapy, and the creator of HMS Therapy. Welcome to the NLP program. We're now going to be talking about metamodels, right? Metamodel language. Okay, stemming from the work of Fritz Perls and Virginia Satir, metamodel language is designed to chunk down to a root cause emotion, right? So for instance, if I was working, say for instance my car had broken down. This is a simple way of explaining the metamodel. My car's broken down. Okay, so I'm ringing at the garage, and the garage say, what's the problem? The car's broken down. Okay, they say, what specifically is the problem? And the key word to remember is what specifically. So he's asked me a question, what specifically? He's chunked me down, so I'm thinking, oh, it's the engine. And then he says, what specifically in the engine? So again, he says, what specifically? Chunk down again. Oh, it's the carburetor. And then he says again, what specifically in the carburetor? And I say, oh, it's the right hand foo-foo valve, which is, I just made that up, right? The right hand foo-foo valve, okay? So now this engineer knows exactly what the problem is on my car, the right hand foo-foo valve, right? You look at that, I don't know what the foo-foo valve is, I just made it up. But he's found the foo-foo valve, so he knows, the engineer knows exactly what the problem is, using it. What specifically, we call it chunking down. So the way the metamodel works is a way of chunking language down to get our clients into the root cause problem. All right, and we use it within HMS therapy, and we use it a lot with when we're working with a client. Warning, warning, you do not use this, you do not use metamodel language unless you have time with the client. If you chunk somebody down to a root cause, right, and they're in a negative emotion, right, especially if they're suicidal or something like that, this can be very, very dangerous, right, because that person could be volatile. You should never ever chunk anyone down using that type of language unless you know what you're doing. When we go to master practitioner, it teaches in more in depth. So the great thing about learning NLP is we can chunk people down, but we can also chunk them back up. So you need to remember how to chunk up after you chunk them down, if you have chunked them down. All right, and as we go on to more videos, I'm going to do more about Milton and Metamodel techniques, how to chunk down and chunk back up really quickly. So we use words such as what specifically, where specifically, and who specifically. Let's go there again. What specifically, where specifically, who specifically. And then the final one is how did that make you feel? And that is the sort of sledgehammer one, because if they say sad or really angry, you're going to be putting them into an emotion, right? And this is something that counsellors do. They're unaware of it. And I've had counselling myself years ago when I came back from the army, and I found I was chunked down, but nobody chunked me back up. So I was sort of left in that emotion. That's not the counselling world's fault, but the counselling world could really benefit through learning metamodel language, because what they do is they chunk people down, but then they don't chunk them back up. We use Milton model to go back up and Metamodel to go down. Milton model to go up, Metamodel to come back down. All right, and that's how we use really simple techniques. Okay. You can use softening frames such as I'm wondering, I'm really curious, and that's interesting. So you know your car's broken down. Oh, I'm wondering, what car is it? It's a Ford. What specifically is wrong with it? The engine. What specifically? The carburetor. What specifically? The foo-foo valve. And how does that make you feel when your car broke down? Well, I was really not happy about it. I'm angry about it. I want to get it fixed. I'm frustrated. So straight away we chunked them down to a root cause. Notice I'm using the car model as if you're working with a client and they're saying they've got, you know, they're feeling, you ring them up and they're saying they're feeling depressed. What are you specifically depressed about? My wife just left me. What specifically has happened? She left me last night. Okay, how does that make you feel? Well, really sad. Okay, is it okay to help you now over the phone so you feel better about that? Yeah, so what would I do now? I go in with the Milton model and I chunk them back up. Alright, and the Milton model is basically, okay, for what purpose for you? For what purpose for you? And what does that do for you? And what I'm doing now is I'm bringing them back up. So we'll look at that technique more in depth on the next lesson when we go to Master Prac, how to use that tech, how to use the what specifically, and then the for what purpose for you, and what does that do for you. So chunking down, chunking up. Metamodel to chunk down, Milton model to chunk back up. Alright, there will be tests on this because this language you've got to get a grip of. This is the nuts and bolts of NLP. Chunking them down, chunking them back up. And what you'll find by doing that is you're chunking them up to what we call the highest intent, which is love, the source energy, their connection with their divine purpose. Right, chunking them down to root cause, negative emotions, using the meta model, chunking them back up to reach their higher purpose and why they're here as a human being on this planet. Okay, and that's what NLP really is about. Really, is getting people to connect with their inner being, who they really are, and not what they perceive that they are. So meta model language is to chunk down, Milton models to chunk back up, and when we go on to Master Prac, we'll go more into depth on this. So any questions, you'll do your test on this. This is New Leaf Programme, and keep watching, keep learning, and good luck and God bless. Hello, I'm Martin Webster. I'm a Master Trainer of NLP, Hypnotherapy, and also the creator of HMS Therapy. We'll talk about now advanced communication if you go on to become a Master Practitioner within the world of NLP. Advanced communication is something that takes hypnotherapy onto the next level, and I'll be talking about it more when we do the Master Practitioner course. Just touching on it right now, basically we look at hypnotherapy such as Dr. Dave Ellman interventions, where we go deep into the subconscious level and where we reprogram the subconscious at the unconscious level to just experience very, very deep relaxation. So when I'm using HMS therapy, and you could use this if you're using timeline therapy or any other type of intervention, using a deeper level of understanding of hypnotherapy, that when you're working at these vibration, these frequencies, that your tones, your voice tones, and your physiology matches the client's. It's very hard to discuss advanced communication consciously because it's an unconscious process. So when you're working with a client, especially as a practitioner, we call it the term know-nothing state within the master practitioner world. And it was it was John Grinder that coined the phrase of the know-nothing state being a playful state. So being a state of having no intention really, when you're working with a client, of switching off the ego, switching off and just literally being in the moment, the here and now. So the know-nothing state. Going into what Abraham Hicks talks of as the unconscious vortex. So between the conscious mind and the unconscious mind in alpha state. So and going into theta state. So that there's sort of dropping down from the conscious into the subconscious. And the deeper we go, the better results we get with clients. So advanced communication is the process, it's the way we use our language, it's the way we use NLP in a very, very deep trance state as a therapist ourselves. And as you become a more proficient practitioner, you will learn this if you become a master practitioner, which will be the next course on from this course. So thanks for watching. This is NLP program, and good luck and God bless. Hello, I'm Martin Webster. I'm a master trainer of NLP, hypnotherapy, and the creator of HMS Therapy. I want to talk now about advanced relaxation. Advanced relaxation is again very similar to advanced communication, where we are reaching the know-nothing state as a practitioner. So as an NLP practitioner, as a hypnotherapist, you're reaching a state of deep relaxation in yourself while working with your client, and not trying to push it, not trying to force it, what we call the know-nothing state. And Richard Bandler coined the phrase of, John Grinder called the phrase of saying being playful, being very, very playful when you're working with a client, and not having any too much structure, or having no structure, which we call the know-nothing state. Abraham Hicks called it going into the vortex. So advanced relaxation is a very, very deep level trance state that you can. Hello, I'm Martin Webster. I'm a master trainer of NLP and hypnotherapy, and also the creator of HMS Therapy. Welcome to the NLP program. Why learn internal representation systems? And what are internal representation systems? If you're a teacher at school, they're already teaching it now. They don't call it VACOG, they call it VAR. They're looking to see who's the visual auditory people. They're looking to see the kinesthetic people in the room. They're looking to see who's the audio digital people in the room. And recognising that to play to their strengths and weaknesses, they need to change their language to speak to those students. So recognising somebody's internal representation system, you simply ask the question, what do you like doing that's fun? If you ask me that, I would say going to the beach with my children. So going to the beach with my children, it is a visual picture comes into my head, and I see myself playing with children, and it's a physical activity. So there's a good chance I'm visual kinesthetic, right? If you ask somebody what they like doing and they said, I like listening to music, it's a good chance that they're more auditory. They have more auditory senses, and they like listening more rather than doing. All right? If you ask a sports person what they like doing that's fun, probably say running around a running track. It's physical activity, and probably get a picture in their mind. All right, so understanding how somebody operates inside, when you're working with them, you need to change your language. So asking somebody who's visual and kinesthetic, using the word listen, and I want you to hear this, he'll probably not engage with that as much as if you said, right, I want you to look at this, and I want you to see this perspective, and by gut. Does that make sense? So by understanding someone's internal rep system is really simple. Right, I'm not going to overcomplicate it, because I've seen there's NLP stuff out there where they just far over. All you ask them is, tell me about something that you like, and they say this, then you interpret it as either visual kinesthetic or audio digital. And people tend to break down into two groups: visual kinesthetic people and people that are auditory and digital people. And auditory digital just stands for they're more order and process, they're more listening, they're more they're more into data and facts and stuff like that, and the visual kinesthetics are less like feelings. So if you put visual kinesthetic people in a room that's cold and uncomfortable and bad chairs and ask them to do a maths test, they're not going to be thrilled. If you ask the auditory digital people to do that, they'll be over the moon, because all they're interested in is getting down and to pass that test. So people break into two groups really, visual kinesthetic and auditory digital. And both of them are really important in the world, because if we have creative people and we have people that are analysts, and that's how the two marry together and they work together. You usually find it in relationships as well. One partner will be more auditory digital and one will be visual kinesthetic. So, hello, I'm Martin Webster from the New Leaf program. I'm a master trainer of NLP, hypnotherapy, and also the creator of HMS Therapy. Welcome. We're going to talk about rapport now. Why learn rapport? Rapport is essential when working with a client. If you've not got any rapport, you've got no client, and it's going to be pretty painful, the whole situation. So the reason why the business world has taken on NLP is because it's great for learning rapport and to get an unconscious rapport with a client that you probably wouldn't have if you didn't know NLP. So that's really why the NLP has been sort of taken into the business world and not used really to almost to NLP's detriment. So what we're doing with therapeutic NLP is taking it back to its therapeutic roots, to people like Bandler and Grindler, back to Virginia Satir and Milton Erickson, who were therapists. These guys were therapists. This therapy rapport, NLP rapport, was designed to get a great result with your client. Nothing more. No agenda. Right, so they worked out that 7% of communication was just words, and that basically non-verbal communication was 55%, and that tone was 38%. So in my tones, if I was really aggressive now, you probably might even switch off and not want to watch the rest of the video. If I'm relaxed when I'm talking, in my physical body, if I was obviously too relaxed, I was slumped back in the chair, that's going to have an effect as well. But there's a balance of getting it right. But 7% of communication is words, right? So getting your physiology and your tone right is really, really important. So we have rapport skills such as matching, mirroring, and crossover matching. So with matching, basically, if I'm working with a client, you're gonna basically copy the body postures, the breathing, the blink rate. I know it sounds a bit intense, but if you're working with a client, you naturally sync with anyone. If you're doing hypnotherapy, you naturally sync with that person anyway, and using words, predicates, and common experiences. So if I'm working with a client, they're really tense. First of all, I won't start asking them questions about the therapy. I just ask them about their life and then shared experiences, like if they've been on holiday somewhere that you've been on, and then you get into like a rapport. If I'm working with soldiers, I start talking to them about the military, about where I served and what happened to me, and I get instant rapport. I know with counsellors they can't share so many stories, but what I recommend is that if you're going to work with a client and get the best results, that you do let your guard down a bit and you become human, and you should have a good chat with them before you work with them, because I guarantee you'll get a much better result. And also perception is projection, as Carl Jung said, that person in front of you is your reflection. So show a bit of kindness, a bit of love what you're doing, get the rapport going, and you'll get results. Mirroring is basically body postures and gestures. Crossover mirroring is, so if somebody is sat like this, I would sit the opposite way around, like that. And the reason why I would do that is if I didn't want to connect with the energy. Perhaps I was working in a prison environment, which I have done in the past. If I was working in a prison environment and I didn't want to connect with the energy, if I was working with somebody that I wasn't quite, that I had to get a result with, but I didn't really want to engage with, say if it was a negative chat they were talking about. So that way we call that crossover matching. It was developed by Milton Erickson. So you stayed away from the energy connected to the client, because the last thing you want is sometimes taking on someone else's energy if you're working with them. So yeah, that's different types of rapport. Physiology. So if you're working with a client, physiology, match the posture, gestures of the voice, matching the voice characteristics like tone, speed, pitch, intonation, accent and language. Probably not best to copy a Scottish accent, because if you mess it up, they're going to be not impressed. Familiar preference for hearing, seeing, feeling, styles and beliefs, shared experiences like hometown, school holidays, breathing, and so forth. When you do hypnotherapy at a deep level, you will find you'll naturally get that breathing right. There's a great technique called what we call the NLP Agreement Frame, and what we do is we replace but with and. So you say such as like, yeah, but, you get a barrier up. If you say yes and, or I agree and, I appreciate your thinking on this and, I respect what you think and, avoid the friend I understand and avoid the word but. So avoid but and avoid understand, okay? And replace it with yes, I agree and, yes and, or I appreciate your thinking on that and, I respect that you think that and, avoid the friend, avoid but and avoid understand. And that's what we call the NLP Agreement Frame. It's really, really powerful. Also look at when you're working with clients, congruency. If they say yes, I've changed, look at what the head's doing. If they say yes, I've changed, and the head is in line with the yes, if the head is in line with the yes, yeah, you're good to go. If the head is not aligned with the yes, if they're saying yes but they mean no unconsciously, look at what the unconscious is vocalizing, because that's going to be key, especially if we move on to using HMS therapy and deeper levels of hypnosis. You want to find out whether they're actually congruent with what they're saying. And yeah, that's rapport. Thanks for watching. Good luck. There'll be some tests along the way around rapport, so go back over this video, and good luck and God bless. Hi, I'm Martin Webster. I'm a Master Trainer of NLP, Hypnotherapy and the creator of HMS Therapy. Welcome to the New Leaf programme. We'll be talking about now strategies. Why learn strategies? Understanding somebody's strategy will help you if you're trying to help that client progress in life and achieve their goals. Right, so breaking down their strategy, especially if a strategy is not working for them, will be a classic example of this. Is I remember watching Wimbledon years ago before Andy Murray had won it, and every time he would lose his temper, right on the field, he'd slam his racket down, right, and his head would go down. So he'd put his head into an emotional state, and he was burning up, especially when negative emotions actually cost the body energy. So as he was slamming his racket down, he was burning up a lot of negative emotions, and he would put his head into his emotions. He was in a bad place, right? And then the year he won Wimbledon, and the year he won the Olympics as well, he just started to, when he scored a point, and he started to look up, and he started to do this. And as soon as he started to do this, I thought that someone's coached him there. An NLP practitioner's coached him, and he started to look up. And the way I remember this is up for inspiration, down for desperation. Because when he was in that desperate state, he lost Wimbledon every time, right? And when he started to look up, he really started to shift his mind, shift his breathing patterns, and he didn't waste any energy, and he won Wimbledon, and has gone on now to be one of the greatest players ever, beating Fred Perry. So the definition of a strategy is an order and sequence of internal and external representations that lead to a specific outcome. For Andy Murray, winning Wimbledon. Johnny Wilkinson, another person who, when he used to take the try, sportsman, he used to put his thumbs together like that, and he would shut out the whole arena, and then he would take his kick. And by doing that with his thumbs, he sort of could shut it, and everyone used to take the mick out of him. Didn't matter, he shut them out, and he would go into a state. So he had a strategy for that. Right, now we've all got strategies. We have strategies for getting ill, like my cough right now. We have strategies for overcoming illness, so taking honey and lemon I do, and recovery and sleep and keeping in the warm environment. So we all have strategies for things. We have strategies for love, we have strategies for deciding, we have strategies for hate, we have strategies for motivation, we have strategies for understanding, wealth, depression, disease, resistance, creativity, everything. Alright, we have a strategy for strategy elicitation. So after you saw, heard, right, so imagine now if you're working with it, after you saw, heard and felt, what was the very next thing that happened to you when you were totally, say for instance, winning a game of something, alright? Because you've got to have a strategy. I was playing this game the other day, and every time I got asked this question, right, when I got asked the question, from the board game. It was called the 5-second rule, right? And you had 5 seconds to answer the question, right? The first thing I would do was I'd bring my eyes up to my remembered part of my brain, because if they're over here in my imagined part of my brain, that's not the left hemisphere of my brain, because I'm reversed organised. I needed to come to my right hemisphere brain, so I created a new strategy. And straight away when I asked the question, my eyes, so there wasn't a time delay of my eyes coming to over here, because I've got 5 seconds to answer it. And I won the quiz. Right, I know it's only a little small quiz, but I recognised I developed a strategy really early on of answering those, and I try it now when I'm watching TV shows at night, like bringing my head to my eyes to my remembered part of my brain. And this is science. This your eye scan patterns. You've just done the eye scan pattern test and the eye scan pattern lessons. So try it by putting your eyes into the remembered part of the brain if when asked the question, so you can answer it quickly. Did you get a picture of something in your mind? Say something to yourself or hear something, have a certain feeling or emotion. What was it? What was the next thing that happened to you when you were totally winning the game or whatever? Right, so we have a strategy. That's how we break it down. So buying strategies, okay? If you're going to buy something, right? Your client, what is your client's internal representation system, right? So here's a little script here that I've got written down. Well, Brian, I know you had an idea about the car that you're looking for, and the one that you've seen is a good match. You've got a feel for it from the test drive, and it meets your criteria of price, performance, reliability. So do you feel this is the car for you? And I bought a car literally last week, right? So I can run through all this. For me, I got shown a car, didn't like it, didn't like the feel of it, the stereo, didn't like it at all. There was a more expensive car, which my partner was there with me to go, oh, you would go for the more expensive one, but it felt right. It felt right, so I went for that car. Now, if he'd asked me about the spec and all that stuff, I didn't care about the spec. All I cared about is how I felt in that car. So someone who's trying to sell me something, if they're selling me something and they're not using my language, right, about feelings and warmth and stuff like that, I'm not going to buy into it. If they start going about spec, I don't care about that stuff, right? He told me the road tax was £30 a year, and I was interested in how I felt in it, right? So well, Brian, I know you had an idea about what car you were looking for, visual, external, and the one you've seen is a good match for you, visual, internal, okay? So you've got a good feel for it, which is kinesthetic external, because they've got from the test drive, and it meets your criteria of price, which is AD, audio digital. That's detail, isn't it, on the actual car. Performance and reliability, which is also AD stuff. So do you feel this is the car for you? Do you feel this is the car? That's kinesthetic, internal. Alright, so breaking all that language down, I know it sounds a bit confusing at the moment, but just recognising that all language can either be kinesthetic, auditory digital, or it could be hearing, and that's where the vehicle comes in. So everyone has a strategy of how they feel about stuff. So what you want to do now is go away and listen to people's language, listen to their strategies, and try and reinstall new strategies when you're working with a client or with yourself, so you get results, people. Thanks for watching the NLP program. Please do the next part of the test, and yeah, hopefully you'll move on and you'll go into Master Prac, and yeah, it's been great going on this journey with you. Good luck and God bless. Hello, I'm Martin Webster. I'm a Master Trainer of NLP, Hypnotherapy, and the creator of HMS Therapy. Anchors, why learn anchors? Anchors are really important, especially when doing NLP, because we can either install an anchor or collapse an old anchor. If you take a child that's put on a naughty step, for instance, they'll be anchored negatively to sitting on that naughty step. What we want to do is collapse an old anchor and then install a new anchor. And the way we do that is we can either use like a physical, I've seen it before, like if you saw Johnny Wilkinson, who was doing this before he took his try years ago. That was an anchor that had been installed into his mind. So it's a physical activity to install the anchor. Also with Andy Murray, when he was winning Wimbledon, he kept looking up like that, and he kept doing this. So he was anchored positively like this. So some coach has installed the anchor. So it's a physical behaviour. Then what that does is it initiates an emotional response, which allows that person to sort of move into a more positive mindset. So that's anchors. So the way we install an anchor, especially when you go into doing HMS therapy, you can do it through using language, through NLP languages, and questioning people to let go of a negative behaviour and replacing it with a positive behaviour. So that's anchors, NLP anchors. There'll be a little bit of a quiz on it. And yeah, good luck and God bless. Hello, I'm Martin Webster. I'm a Master Trainer of NLP, Hypnotherapy and the creator of HMS Therapy. Welcome to Newly's programme. We're near the end of the course now, so basically we'll be talking about now submodalities. Submodalities are pictures, sounds, feelings and expressions outside of our conscious awareness. So for instance, if I use an example of an architect will visualise a house before he's drawn it. So before this house was here, there was just basically fields. An architect turned up and he had an idea and it's a concept in his head. He projected out of his conscious awareness and he designed the house. So what we call that is submodalities. It's our projection outside of our conscious awareness. So when we're working with clients, if we're going to reprogram, especially something like, I don't know, smoking for instance, they usually have like a right or a left hand they would hold the cigarette in. This would be their submodalities. So we'd see how close the picture is there. And then what we can do is we can take the negative picture and we can replace it with a more positive. Say for instance it was, I don't know, EFT or yoga breathing or something. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to map the submodalities across, so the new behaviour will become more prominent to the old behaviour. So we're switching those submodalities over, which will become more apparent as you get more into NLP and you learn HMS Therapy. HMS Therapy really incorporates the submodalities and changing the submodalities. So sort of bringing a picture of someone really negative in their life to replacing it with someone who's really positive, a positive influence. And that's submodalities really in a nutshell. So yeah, if you've got any questions about it, do some research on the internet, but submodalities are pretty simple really. And as you get more into HMS Therapy, you have more of an understanding about it. There will be a very basic test on submodalities, which you'll cover in the quiz. But thanks for watching. Coming near the end of the module now, so good luck and please move on to Master Prac. Good luck, God bless.